All right. Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Leah, and I am your host for today. And with me is one of the Reader's Magnet's featured author, and of course, one of the most valuable author we have. And today, he will be sharing to us what this book is all about, him being an author, and of course, the inspiration about his book. So let's all welcome our one and only Mr. Dairl M. Johnson, author of the book in Search of Tom Candy. Hi, Daryl. How are you doing? It's good to see you.
Hello.
Yes. So, Daryl, you know what? I'm very excited to have this discussion with you right now because I've been hearing a lot of good things coming from Florine and also with your project manager, Amy. So, yep, this is the moment that we've been waiting for. And before we tackle about your book, Daryl, why not maybe give us a little bit information about who Mr. Daryl Johnson is?
Oh, myself. Okay. Well, um,
Yes.
I uh, I was born and raised on a farm in Arkansas, so I'm from a rural area, and I really did go to school with bare feet, and
Whoa.
grew up in a house with no electricity, no running water. So people don't relate to that nowadays, but of course I came from a very rural area, so I've always been close to the earth and close to nature, that kind of stuff. And then I kind of my family moved to California from Arkansas, and I finally found out what running water was, which was nice. And I'm a I'm a graduate electrical engineer, by the way, and
Wow.
I spent my career at IBM, a computer company, and worked my way up to the executive ranks. I have traveled around the world a couple dozen times, and so I've been to England 4 or 5 times, and I was pretty fascinated with the country. First time I flew in there, the sun was shining, and everybody said that was shocking.
Right. That is really interesting, Daryl. You know, I must say that it's really a long journey, such a roller coaster from the experience you've had from the past, from where you are right now. Wow, that is
Yeah,
amazing, Daryl. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today. And yes, this is a moment that we've been waiting for because it's time to know more information about your book. But before we do that, do you have your book with you right now?
I do.
Okay, there. Will you show it to our viewers? All right, there you go, everyone. That's the book of Mr. Daryl Johnson, Tom Candy. Okay, so yes, Daryl, I wanted to start with the title. It says "In Search of Tom Candy." So, can you tell us what is that all about? How did you started this book? What's the inspiration of you creating this book?
Well, I'm a real fan of the American West and history. Uh, not only Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I really love, like maybe a lot of older people do, Western movies and cattle drives, things like that. And I actually wanted to write a book, and I was researching uh, and found, Charles Goodnight, which everybody pretty much knows as the person that was one of the first cattle drivers of Longhorn cattle out of Texas. And down in the footnotes, I saw a little note that said, but he was not the first. It was actually an Englishman named Tom Candy Ponting, real name.
Whoa.
And I was fascinated with the idea that an Englishman actually drove the first herd of cattle out of Texas and of all places to New York City. And I thought, this is preposterous. I mean, you can't make up a story like that. So I was fascinated with that story, and I started researching and couldn't find any information on this Tom Candy Ponting. And so I was literally in search of Tom Candy. And when I finally got around to, getting information, I thought, well, why not call it In Search of Tom Candy? Because that's what I was doing. And so I was fascinated with his real life story. And he's a real person, Englishman from Somersetshire, which is near London, about 100 miles outside of London. And he actually came over to America about 1850 time frame, and did pretty much all the things that I said in the book, except, of course, I added a little Civil War mystery thriller as a side story to it. But my intent was to retrieve a person from history that has basically been
Mhm.
lost. I mean, an Englishman is the first cattle driver out of Texas. I've never heard that before. I don't think anybody has, but it's real, it's true. And
Right.
I was fascinated with the story, so I decided to retrieve his place from history and kind of tell a little story about how he might have, uh, you know, done his thing here in the America. So that's kind of how it
Mhm.
started.
Wow, that is such an amazing creation, Daryl. From that curiosity, you wanted to know more information about the history. That is really amazing. And you know what? By the title itself, In Search of Tom Candy, I must say that it's already captivating. And with what you have shared earlier, I must say that this book is really interesting. From the title to the story of your book, it is really a mystery writing at its finest, I must say, Daryl.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Now, I know that this book is a successful creation, Daryl. Now, are there any key challenges that you have encountered while writing this story?
Well, just typical stuff. I had to learn how to use an Apple computer and an authoring program, which I taught myself. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a little bit challenging, but I actually did a lot of research on the person and the cattle drive. So I've
Mm-hmm.
read a couple dozen books in preparation for it. So it was a lot of research. I mean, just a tremendous amount of research. I probably spent 7 or 8 years total
Hmm.
researching and then writing notes and preparing for it. So it's been well researched and I believe follows history pretty closely. So a person could actually learn some real facts of history, uh,
Right.
in reading the book, things that have been
Mhm.
kind of lost to history as well as Tom Candy himself. So I
Right.
was
And you know
fast.
what,
I was
Daryl?
fascinated. I was fascinated with it. That's what drove me to keep working on it.
Right. Really wanted to further have that knowledge and also know about the history and what happened from the past. And you know what, Daryl, right now, Mr. Books, stories that are very popular, these stories are, I must say, are very popular because there are readers that are very interested, in why a crime is committed. Some people really enjoying to look for clues, red herrings. As the
Mhm.
story progresses, it really adds challenges as well. So it talks about justice, finding evidence. That's interesting, right? And
Yeah,
yep, this
it
is
was to
actually
me.
exactly the book.
Yeah, I did
Right,
a lot of
definitely.
historical research in writing the book
Hmm.
and tried to stick to what really is out there in history regarding the Lincoln assassination. So all of those points that I brought up in the book are actually true.
Hmm. Wow, right. It's not just about jotting down notes, but you also need to know what's the truth behind the happenings.
Yes.
Yes. Right. And what was your favorite part while writing this book, Daryl?
Hmm. Well, I guess that the favorite part for me was uh, I'll give away a little bit of the storyline here in saying this, but you did ask the question. Uh, Lincoln and Grant are two of my favorite people in history, and the idea of doing some research on Lincoln, and then furthermore writing a story about him, where I have to add dialogue of what he might have been like in a personal setting. That was real challenging and real interesting to me. And I have to admit, I got a little bit of editorial help in uh, in that part of it after it was written, in talking about the dialogue of how a conversation between Tom Candy and Abraham Lincoln might have gone, and
Hmm.
uh, and that I found fascinating and I found very challenging.
That is absolutely interesting, Daryl.
Yeah,
Now, I know that
Tom
the story.
Candy was an acquaintance, if not a personal friend of Abraham Lincoln, by the way, the real Tom Candy Englishman.
Oh, wow. There are really a lot of things about your book that is very interesting, very fascinating. And yes, everyone, to those who are watching us, so you really need to check his book. Yes, and also Dare. I know that this book of yours is really a successful creation. Now, what about, what would you advise to, let's say, to someone who would also wanted to, let's say, to be a writer, to be a storyteller, just like you?
Hmm, boy, I don't know if I could presume to.
That's okay. Anyway, let's just say,
Well, I guess
with,
I've tried two or three books, and this is the first one that I actually
uh-huh,
completed. And so
mhm,
I say persistence is the most important thing, and follow your passion. I am an avid reader, by the way. I've read probably over 2,000 books, and
mhm.
so I'm fascinated with writing and how storylines are developed. And I think that do a lot of reading uh, would be number one, and be persistent number two.
Wow, I like that. Don't just focus on the destination, but also need to focus on the journey, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
I
Yep.
like that, Daryl. And
You
yes,
have to
Daryl,
enjoy it. At the end of the day, you have to enjoy it, and I thoroughly enjoyed the process.
that's one of the most important thing.
Yes.
Enjoying what you're doing, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for that, Daryl. It was really an interesting discussion, and thank you so much for also giving us this opportunity. We really appreciate you, especially for choosing Reader's Magnet to be part of this journey. And yes, Daryl, I wanted you to also take this opportunity to also invite our viewers for your upcoming book signing for the LA Times Festival of Books. So, yep, invite our
Thank you.
viewers.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh,
Bye. Bye.
okay, all right. So yes, everyone, Mr. Daryl Johnson will be having his book signing during the LA Times Festival of Books. So that would be on April 22nd to the 23rd in University of Southern California, Los Angeles, USC campus. And yes, viewers, it will be your chance to know him more as an author and, of course, more information about his book. Everyone, Mr. Dale Johnson, author of the book In Search of Tom Candy. And his book is available in Amazon.com, Barnes& and Noble, and of course, you need to check his website as well. That would be www.darylmjohnson.com. And you may also follow him on all the social media platforms he has. Again, Daryl, thank you so much. And as we say it here in Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Daryl.
Thank you.